Hey everybody, Tim Loomis and Chris Shores here, and today we're with Tom McPeek, the owner of Sugar Works Distillery. All right, Tom, so thank you so much for being here today. We're so happy to be able to do the local spotlight with you. How are you, how did you get here? Like, are you from here in New Smyrna originally, or, you know, did you just beam down?
Did the distillery gods just drop you here in New Smyrna Beach?
I know, I really lobbed it up there for you.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of latitude there.
And it wasn't a simple path, had lots of right turns, but originally from Indiana, and got here as a professor at UCF and kind of navigated here over a series of steps. But I've owned tech companies, I've been a teacher, I'm an architect, and now a distiller.
All right, so you didn't just start out being a distiller.
No.
All right,
No, I wasn't 6 years old and said, "Hey, Dad, I'd like to make
Hey,
a
I'm
liquor."
gonna go. Can I borrow this? Yeah, I'm gonna go in the back, and I'm gonna use this room as my distilling room, if you don't mind.
Yeah. It's
very cool.
never did it before I decided this would be an interesting vocation, and was fortunate enough to have some help along the way.
All right, it's always good to have help along the way. I know you and I are definitely grateful for all the help we get
Yeah, I
along
know.
the way.
Exactly. Every little bit helps. Is there a reason? So, you chose distillery route as opposed to brewery route? Because I'm sure it came a time where you had to make that decision when you decided on the business venture. But
So with most businesses, I think an important component of a successful business is a good story. And we have a natural built story here in New Smyrna Beach that is our history that ties to the whole idea of distillation. And this is the site of the original British distillery, oldest original British distillery in North America. It was established in 1768. At that time was 20,000 acres. It was a large sugar plantation, wow. 3 sugar mills, a distillery. So a story was part of it, but breweries had grown and plateaued over the last 25 years, and they've even begun to taper off. And you have millennials that have a stronger interest in spirits than beer. Mm-hmm. So from a business standpoint, it looked like a good path to go.
Got it.
So yeah.
That makes sense, because I mean, obviously Chris and I didn't know about that. He actually said that fact to us a few minutes ago before we started filming. We're both like, wow, we had no idea that there was such a large distillery or influence here locally.
Yeah,
so
such really
cool.
rich history, and you're definitely right. So you've got the good component of storytelling and the lucrative end on it too.
So today, Tom's going to take us on a tour of the distillery. So come on with us inside and let's take a look.
Before we do that, though, where do we come for the tour? Where's
yes,
your location?
Where are we at? Yeah.
214 North Orange Street. We do tours daily, Monday through Saturday at 11, 1, and 3. Okay. And sign up online or come on in.
All right, perfect. So is it better to sign up online first, or?
It is, that way we know,
okay.
Because it is a working distillery, I mean, it's not just a prop. If we don't have people coming in, we're going to be working, we're going to have hoses set up, and we have to make it safe for people to come in.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, so you heard it from Tom, RSVP before you do the tour. All right, so right now we're in the processing room with Tom. This is going to be a 5-step process from what Tom beautifully said, from grain to glass. We're not going to show you all of what's back here because we want you to actually be able to come in and take a tour yourself. But what is particularly impressive is this wonderful piece of equipment that Tom is standing next to that he's going to tell us all about and why it's so special.
Absolutely. So this still is called a coffee still. This is a fairly unique piece of equipment for a small distillery, super common in big distilleries. And this is something that was invented back in 1820 by a gentleman by the name of Coffey, a Scotsman. And he was looking for a way to create spirits faster. And
all right, good man.
Basic principle was, rather than putting it all in a big pot and heating it up and taking lots and lots of time, can we just take a little bit and heat it up as we need it, and as a result make spirits faster. And what's really intriguing about this is 200 years ago this was state of the art. Today it's still state of the art. Wow. Very little's changed in 200 years as far as how this equipment works. The innards of this are exactly the same as what he designed initially. The Scots weren't interested in it when he did it. They believe in a more traditional method, but the Irish jumped all over it. And this became the pervasive way to distill throughout the world at a commercial scale. So if you go to Jack Daniel's, Jim Beam, Bacardi, any big distillery, they're going to have a still like this. And the premise is that you feed in just the amount of beer that you need. And I say beer because that's really all we start with is a beer, a distiller's beer. Feed that in, and then as you feed it into the system, it will go through a distillation process. Do you want me to walk you through the details of how that works? Or?
Sure, let's do it. And so right now it kind of sounds like this was basically, you know, the mother of necessity is all inventions, and the guy needed more spirits faster is essentially what this piece of equipment is doing.
It is, and I would go as far as to say that that's exactly why I have one of these. I mentioned it's unusual to have one of these, but in our previous location, which was much smaller, I literally had 4 foot by 4 foot to work with. So we had a very small footprint, and I couldn't fit another pot still because they're just gigantic. So started looking at possible solutions, and that's how we came on this.
Right.
The way it works is actually really simple. It's got a port where we feed beer from a tank into this still. So it goes through a pump, goes into a preheater, 70 degrees, comes out at 150 degrees, goes around the back of the column, and then goes all the way to the top of the column, injects into the top of the column. Will flow down through. Where you see these clamps, you're going to have a stainless steel plate that looks just like this one. Best thing I can compare this to is a kitchen column. So rather than draining spaghetti, we're draining beer. So you take a stack of these, and if you were to pour water into the top, it drained through to the next one, and the next one, and the next one. Exact same thing's happening here with the objective of increasing dwell time. So you want to hang around a while in the column. The reason you do that, this other column makes steam at 250 degrees, 15 psi. That's pumped into the back of this unit. So steam goes in and up, beer goes in and down. As the two pass one another, it raises the temperature of the beer to 173 degrees, which is the temperature that alcohol boils. The alcohol then goes up in a vapor format over through the condenser, through the pipe, through this tube into a drum. At the same time, that steam that this is making continues to rise, gets about to where that window is, drops below 210 degrees, turns back to water. That water runs with the beer down through the column, heats up the cold beer going in, cools off the hot beer going out, and that processes everything. So this is feeding beer in at 1.5 gallons a minute. We can empty a 211-gallon feed tank in about 3 hours.
Wow.
I can fill that drum with 30 gallons of 110 proof rum. This is the initial distillation. It takes one more trip through the pot still to finish it up, but this allows us to turn over fermenters much quicker. So we're doing 4 times what we used to do prior to having this machine.
All right, sounds like a win-win across the board. And
Absolutely.
whenever you're going to start your distillery courses, sign me up. I think Tim and I will be there. You are definitely a master of your craft. I'm sure a lot of you got lost in like that. I did, but I mean, it's just amazing. And at the end of the day, it is exactly what you need.
So Tom was just explaining the reason why he had that. What was the name of the machine?
The continuous still?
The continuous still was because of size constraints, but we all know that it's because everyone here in New Smyrna drinks so dang much that he has to have something that will produce it more quickly. So now that we've kind of gone through so now that we've gone through the brief explanation of the distilling process, how do we get it into the bottles? What's next? What do we do?
So we'll blend the product, proof it down. Typically comes out of the still about 160 proof. We'll pull that down to bottling strength, which is going to be between 70 and 100. And we do that by simply adding water. Once we get that proof down, we'll then hook that up to another feed tank, and our bottler is used to fill those bottles. This is a fully automated system. A little unusual for a distillery this size, but for us it was a good move because of space and needs. We can fill typically 850 bottles an hour with this.
That's
so
a lot.
It's fairly fast.
Yeah. And you were saying when you first had opened, you were doing you could do max 450 a day.
Correct.
So 450 a day to 850 bottles an hour. So huge improvement.
It is.
Yeah.
I'll admit though, that episode of Lucy and Ethel in the Chocolate Shop. You guys ever see Lucille Ball?
It sounds familiar. But
I
I
Love
don't know.
Lucy show?
Oh yes, I Love Lucy. Yeah.
So there was an episode in that show where Lucy and
Oh,
Ethel
shoot, it was at the
were
conveyor
working
belt
on the
and they were eating
conveyor,
the
and it was
chocolates.
going so fast they couldn't keep up with it, so they started eating it.
the chocolates. I remember that. Yeah.
First time I ran this, it was exactly like that.
What were you shooting bottles of whiskey
it
off
was
the side?
going, again, you're trying to operate a piece of machinery, and you're like, well, let's see how fast it'll go.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is a lot faster than I'll go.
Yeah.
And there were bottles going everywhere. It was awful. But
did they survive the fall, or
well,
was it a big glassy mess? I
guess
that's what I'm trying to
traffic
figure
jam
out.
here and a couple of them spilling, and it was kind of funny in retrospect, but at the time didn't seem so funny.
Yeah.
So typically I'll run it a little bit slower if I'm by myself. If I have help, then yeah, we'll turn it up. We'll let it go. But the reality is, you have about 1,000 bottles on a pallet. Mm-hmm. So if I'm running this for an hour, I've done almost an entire pallet.
Almost, yeah, a whole pallet, yeah.
And on our busiest months, we're doing 6,000 bottles in a month. So
6,000, yeah.
We're not running it very much.
So realistically, you don't have to have it going 850 bottles per hour at this point.
Right.
Yeah. So.
And could we run at half that speed? Mm-hmm. And sure. And typical bottling runs a couple hours.
Okay.
So we'll bottle it up, we'll stage them on the table, we'll put labels on it, put them in boxes, and ship them out the door.
That is awesome. Yeah, it's very efficient what you've done here with how it all works and flows. And I see you have access here to get things shipped out. It's just all very well thought out, which is nice.
We try.
That's important.
It was an old Napa, so empty box, and I guess the stars on the wall because it was at some point a gymnastics studio.
Yeah.
So it's had an interesting life. I think the building's been here since '72.
Yeah.
So for an old metal building, it's hung around fairly well.
That explains that cool sign you guys have out front too, because you can't even put those signs anymore. I'm pretty sure with the city. So you definitely, that's a good thing.
And it's that sign is deceiving how big it really is.
Yeah.
It's like 8 foot by 8 foot, and it doesn't look it up there on top of that pole.
It's definitely really cool, and it's like nostalgic almost. Like this, it looks pretty neat. So, as far as anything else we should know about the bottling process, or
it's not really. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. You take the juice, you get it in a bottle, you get it in a box, and hopefully get it in the hands of our customers and they enjoy it.
Yeah.
We do. A lot of our products that we make are all natural. In fact, everything with the Sugar Works label. So. No additional color, flavor, sugar added to anything.
Okay.
If it's a coconut rum, for example, there's 2 ingredients: coconut and rum. That's
nice.
it.
Yeah, that's a big thing too. People nowadays, with all the different items and alcohols and all these things you can buy, there's always these people put things in there obviously that shouldn't go in there. So keeping it simple and pure and how it should be is obviously very important. So awesome, very cool. The bottling process.
All right, so we have completed this mini condensed tour, so please again make sure that you book your full tour online to come check out the wonderful facility. While we're here, standing behind the bar, very important question. You do more than just whiskey and bourbon, right?
We do.
What are all the liquors and alcohols that you distill?
So we make spirits in 6 different categories: vodka, rum, moonshine, agave spirit or tequila, a bourbon and whiskey, and then we also have a gin coming.
And so with all the distilling that you do people just have to come here and drink and they can't leave with it, or do you sell your bottles as well, or what's your distribution and that side of things looking like for you?
Well, we certainly do cocktail sales here. We do bottle sales as well, so you can come in and get a bottle of whatever you want. And there are a few things here that you can only get here, but we do distribution and usual chain locations: ABC, Total Wine, Kenny's Liquor, so on and so forth. You can get those spirits, or if you're out of state, you can get it online.
Got it. And the best way for everybody to get in contact with you, so you're on Facebook, Instagram, call the store, website. Am I missing anything?
Nope, that's
okay,
it.
I know you some other
You
method
did that
you
really
know.
well.
Yeah, wow, I did
Smoke
really.
signal.
And there's a smoke signal. That's what we always
Beating
say.
out of drums.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see behind me too. I'm probably out, but there's a counter here. So if you don't like their page online, do go on there. Click the like button on the Facebook and the Instagram. They also have a lot of live music here as well. So if you're looking for a good opportunity to come have a great cocktail with some good spirits and good people and good music, this is the place.
And last question, hours of operation.
Yes.
So Monday through Wednesday is 11 to 7. Thursday 11 to 10. Friday, Saturday 11 to midnight, and Sunday noon to 6. No.
It doesn't matter. We're going to put the link to the
They
website
keep
below.
changing it.
Yeah, it's all right. It
Check the
happens,
website, call them, call us. We'll make sure that you know
Yes.
when the best time to come is to check them out.
Tom, you don't know the hours, but you sure know how to make good spirits. So that's
Well,
all that
very
matters.
so.
So you're in good shape.
Everybody's got their
Yeah.
role in the business, right?
Okay.
So
And
again,
again,
thank you, Tom. We appreciate it.
thank you very much. Yeah, and don't forget, like, subscribe, White Whale Real Estate. If we can do anything to help you, don't hesitate to reach out to us.
Cheers.